Reclaiming your father's empire will not be so simple.
My plans go far beyond what my father could have ever achieved.
Let's see how far that ambition carries you.
I'll make sure you have a front row seat.
Hey guys, my name is Mushroom, Mushroomy, Shroomathan, Shrooms. I have a lot of different names and I just really like lore. So, once again, my plans have had to be shifted almost completely as I was getting ready and planning to make a story video about what the next season's narrative is going to be like when they decided to go ahead and drop another new comic. This one is from Dark Horse and it is called Vengeance Comes, written by Brandon Easton and Irene Coe. This one is crazy. And I know I keep saying that after every single one, but I think this one is probably my favorite lore drop of them all. It has really set up and done a lot of things right. It's moving a lot of characters around, connecting a lot of factions, introducing characters we haven't heard from in a long time. All of this is really good, and I'm so excited to be talking about it with you guys. Before we get into that though, I do want to thank you guys for all the support on my last video talking about the 10 future heroes. That video took a lot of work, and I tried to get it out really quick, so I appreciate all the likes, love, and appreciation and just general hype I got in the comments from talking about it all. As always, thank you guys for watching already, but don't forget to like and subscribe. Liking and subscribing really helps, and I hope we can grow our little community into something bigger, and we can talk about lore on a bigger scale. So, with all of that out of the way, let's start breaking down the story of Vengeance Comes. In the short story Vengeance Comes, Vendetta calls all of Talon together to discuss their plans moving forward. In a pretty shocking reveal, Widowmaker, Sombra, and Reaper have left Talon after Doomfist's defeat. Vendetta doesn't seem bothered by this, and instead focuses on her new ally Indomina, and explains how Vishkar's shielding tech is now being used on all of Talon's soldiers. Her gladiators are in her army as well, being given the best of the best to aid them in fights. Vendetta then goes on to explain how everyone in Talon needs to pull their own weight going forward, and there will be no more sitting and waiting, or backwards deals. Her goals don't seem to stop there though. She reveals she is planning a heist of Watchpoint Grand Mesa, an old Overwatch base now run by Helix, to get something from the base for Moira. But she won't do this alone. She's had Max hire Freya and Emery to do this job with her. Then, she reveals the Deadlock Gang has also been hired to help in the heist as well. And she's even working with the Hashimoto to get Kiriko's father to make blades for them. In return, they will be helping the Hashimoto take over Japan. She then orders Mauga to Junkertown to try and get the Junkers to join her. And finally, she reveals her plans have already begun, as an attack on Overwatch's Watchpoint Gibraltar begins, and her empire begins to rise. There's a lot to break down with this one, so let's just get started. The first thing I want to talk about is Widowmaker, Sombra, and Reaper leaving Talon. It was talked about in a couple other stories that came out recently that Doomfist was going to have some loyalists. I just didn't expect it to be these guys, especially because Maximilian seemed so sure that Widowmaker was going to stay with them, based on his interaction with Vendetta early on in the other short story. With that in mind, I do think it's interesting to talk about and highlight Widowmaker and Maximilian's relationship. The two are pretty close, judging by how her mythic weapon, which isn't necessarily canon, was a gift from Max, but also he hires her as his personal assassin. There is something there between the two. I am really curious to see how Maximilian feels about Widowmaker leaving in specific because of their close relationship. Also, everything going on with Widowmaker. It was talked about in the other short story that part of the reason Max was so sure that she was going to be staying is because she has some form of drug enhancements that she needs to take. But it seems like she's not going to be getting those anymore if she's leaving Talon. So maybe Sombra or Reaper will help her get some more, or maybe she's going to be on her own for a while and she's going to have to come to face the demons of her past, aka all of her older memories. I think it's going to be a really interesting year for Widowmaker, and that's a character we need to focus on of this batch. As well, Sombra is probably going to be focusing all of her power on either A, going to find Doomfist alongside the other two, or B, going into the conspiracy. The conspiracy is something we're definitely going to be talking about more in the future, and if you don't know what the conspiracy is, I did make a video on it a while ago now that still has a lot of information on it, so definitely go check that one out. But the conspiracy is, at its core, an Overwatch faction that has been in the background for a long time, pulling the strings. They're the reason that the Overwatch Switch base was destroyed, and as well, they're the reason the NT Warriors fell with Yari's people. So, they've been responsible for a lot of things in the background. Sombra's been chasing them, so I could see her going in that direction and focusing on that in the future. As for Reaper, he's the one I have the least information on why he would leave Talon. Why he's even in Talon is kind of up in the air at this point. Maybe it is a loyalty thing to Doomfist and he does respect Akande, so I could see Reaper going to find him of these three characters, and just trying to get Doomfist back on his feet and helping him reclaim Talon. There is a really interesting avenue they can go here where Reaper is the most loyal one, and I think that's really neat for his character, but also kind of just talks about the relationship he probably has with Akande. We don't really know much about how he was brought in aside from a couple little notes and pieces, and I'm interested to see if we get any more on Reaper's earlier life here before Talon and right after Overwatch. Now, on to another pretty big thing. Domina and Vishkar. So we knew there was going to be some type of deal with shielding tech, but it seems like all of Talon's soldiers are going to be getting shielding, which to me, this is screaming like the Halo Spartan armor kind of aesthetic, where they're going to have overshields, but also just hand shields, kind of like Jackals from Halo. Also, Domina specifically says that Vendetta's gladiators are going to be getting the best of the best, so I could see the gladiators being kind of like Vendetta's upper army, maybe her generals and commanders who lead Talon into battle. I think that's going to be pretty cool, and I'm really curious to see if Talon gets a little bit of a makeover for their units, aside from their architecture and designs like their banner. It seems like the deal with Vishkar really is going to be growing here, and Vishkar is going to become a much bigger player in Talon because of it. I'm interested to see if the public's going to be finding out about the shielding tech. I kind of doubt it, but also Vishkar does have a specific kind of style, so that might be something they draw on in the future. Domina as a character was not really highlighted in this one, she was kind of just a cameo, but I do think it was nice to see her and talk about their dynamic, especially because Sanjay is still around in the Talon Council. A lot of people, including myself, thought Domina was going to be replacing Sanjay, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like Sanjay is still going to be that middleman between the two, with Domina being the upper level of Vishkar that we haven't really gotten to see yet. Now, on to the next pretty big thing. Everything with Moira is something I want to talk about for a bit. Moira has talked with Vendetta in this a lot, and we get to see and hear Vendetta's thoughts on Moira. She says that Moira has been given too open of a leash, or has been led astray too far with Akande, so that kind of implies that Vendetta's gonna be reeling Moira back in power. Maybe Moira's gonna be a little annoyed at that, and Vendetta's probably gonna be making an enemy here down the road. This is probably one of the many things that Vendetta doesn't understand why Akande did the way he did. Moira is a character who really doesn't like to be controlled, and she likes to be kind of doing her own thing as long as you're backing her. Vendetta's probably going to be supporting her research and endeavors. I don't think Vendetta's going to be fully respecting her like Moira wants, and that's probably going to lead to some complications in the future. On the topic of that though, we need to talk about Sigma for a minute, because Sigma's been pretty absent in all of this. I do think under Vendetta, Sigma's going to be losing a lot more of his free will. With Doomfist, I wouldn't say Sigma had the most free will, but he definitely had a level of respect and authority in the faction. But without Doomfist, I don't think Vendetta fully respects Sigma, and Moira doesn't really seem to care for him much either right now. With all that in mind, and based on interactions, I do think there's going to be a big shift with how Sigma's used. They may even turn him into even more of a weapon than what Akande did. That's just pure speculation. I'm really curious to see what they're going to be doing with Sigma because he's been so absent in all this. It just feels really weird to not hear from him at all. The next major thing we should talk about is Vendetta's new allies, the Deadlock and the Hashimoto. With Deadlock, it does make sense that they're finally going to be using them with the Helix attack. So, if you don't know, Powder Keg Mine, which is a stadium map, was used and teased a raid from Ash and the Deadlock Rebels last year. This seems to be what's going to be happening here, as it's basically confirmed that Talon is going to be attacking Watchpoint Grand Mesa alongside Emery and Freya. So, it seems like whatever's in here, Moira really wants to get, and Vendetta's going to be getting for her. I am really curious where this one's going to go, because I have no idea really what's inside. Watchpoint Grand Mesa was a storage facility where a lot of old experiments and tech from the Overwatch days are locked away. There is some stuff they can do there and a lot of stuff they can draw on for what exactly is being found. However, I do think since Freya is staying so close to Emery, Emery's probably going to run off and Freya's going to discover something about the conspiracy, and a clue to what's going on with them in general. Getting Deadlock involved here does make a lot of sense narratively, simply because they want to get as many characters involved as they can, and Deadlock and Ash were kind of just off to the side. I do think this is also a great time to introduce another Deadlock character, which we might be seeing in Season 2, or this could be a Helix rep. I'm really not sure, but I did talk about that in my video the other day. and for the Hashimoto as well. This is all, I think, setting up Mizuki and whatever's going on with the Hashimoto this year. Mizuki is a character that we really haven't heard much about so far, but he has been described as a Talon-aligned support, but in all the artwork and all the developer comments, it seems pretty clear he's going to be swapping sides. So, the Hashimoto storyline stuff is going to be picking up with him more so. We got to finally see what Toshiro looks like, Kiriko's father. It was a really blink and you'll miss it moment, but we finally get to see what he does, and also, Talon seems to be working with the Hashimoto to get Toshiro to make them weapons, which is also going to be bringing up a lot of interesting stuff with the lore of Japan and everything going on with Toshiro. So I'm really hoping we get to see more of that, which we probably will through Mizuki and Kiriko in the future. The last major thing that happens in this story, aside from the Gibraltar elephant in the room, is Mauga going to Junkertown. So, Vendetta seems to be trying to get as many allies as she can, and while the Junkers probably aren't the most loyal, Mauga seems to be the best person she can bring to put them in their place. Mauga seems pretty confident that he'll be able to get them to work with Talon and Vendetta, but I am curious to see Junker Queen and Mauga meet. The last time we heard from the Junkers, they were building an airship to start attacking the rest of the world, so that is something they could be talking about again in the future. However, with Mauga going directly to Junkertown, I think this is a great time to be talking about the Junkers again this year, which I'm really excited to see. Vendetta has already begun her attack on Watchpoint Gibraltar. This was a shock to the rest of the Talon Council, and I think this is going to show one of the many cracks Vendetta is going to be having in her new Talon in the future. Vendetta as a character has one big difference from Doomfist. With her, everything is a lot more direct, saying she wants and everything is owned to her. With Doomfist, he was a lot more quiet, cold, calculating, and planning. So that is a pretty big difference. As well, a lot of Talon doesn't actually respect Vendetta. Moira doesn't really respect her from what I understand and what I've seen here. Max doesn't really respect her, he more fears her. Mauga maybe respects her, but it's not really sure. Reaper, Sombra, and Widowmaker definitely don't respect her. Just to name a few. I think Domina is probably the person who respects her the most as of right now inside of Talon, so that's probably another sign that Talon is going to be fracturing even more, and maybe even going back to a Conde in the future. Doomfist is definitely not dead. We never saw a body, and he definitely just fell, so there is something they're probably going to be doing there. I do think in the future we could be seeing Doomfist and Ramatra teaming up to go fight and take back Talon. But that's going to be a different video in the future. There's a lot to speculate on with Doomfist in particular, and I'm excited to talk about that hopefully soon. These are just my thoughts and the early theories I've had on the new comic. What did you guys enjoy? Are you excited to see Junkers, Hashimoto, and the Deadlock Rebels finally getting back involved? And who is your favorite character in this? For me, my favorite moments were definitely between Max, Moira, and Vendetta. I think those were spotlights and highlights, but I am interested to see where things are going and what you guys want to hear from more with these characters. All in all, this was a good one, like I said, probably my favorite, and I'm really excited for the future of Overwatch once again. That's all from me. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know how you felt about the comic. I'll talk to you guys later. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
你好。